Hello, Dr. Jyoti.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Sir, will you be enabling my camera or will it be put off, sir?
No, I haven't blocked your camera.
Okay, sir. Somehow the screen is not visible. We'll check, sir.
It seems your camera is something is in front of your camera or something.
आत्ताच अटेंडन्स लावून जाऊ दे.
रेकॉर्डिंग काय करते म्हटलं. झूम मीटिंग होती ती गेली. तुला लगेच आता भजी द्यायला सांगू का? कांदा भजी खायला.
Hi Sanjay, how are you? Are you
Hello,
able to see
sir.
me?
Yes, we can see you perfect.
Good, good, good.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening all.
Hello. Hi, Vivek.
Hi Tejinder. Good. Nice to see everyone.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Hello. Hi.
So you can check your screen sharing.
Okay, just let me see. Desktop share. Yes.
Yes, it has come. Perfect.
Yeah.
No problem.
So should I stop or I let it be?
You can stop. I think first, Dr.
Yeah. So I'll stop. Yeah.
We still have about 3 minutes.
Yes, we have time, and I think we can just have a little bit of an informal chat.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it must be getting very warm out there.
Oh, yes.
Job.
It is predicted that there will be a heat wave after 15th. It was rainy for last 3-4 days. It rained, but now suddenly there is warming of temperature.
Yeah, here also it's the rain is expected, and then if rain, then we are little unsure about the power and other things. But let's keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully, we'll not have any power outage or anything.
Yes, sir.
So Tejinder, writing good articles. I am following all your articles, and they are really useful.
Thank you.
Because in the change scenario, we need a lot of clarity, and with your simple language, nice anecdotes, examples, it's very easy to follow.
People usually come 2-3 minutes or 5 minutes late. Registration तो 300 की हुई है. I
Sorry?
300 people have registered.
Oh yeah, I know. Actually, I mean, from our union, we are also in the process of NAC. So our institutional faculty members may be there, and I'm sure as we start, many people will join.
Dr. Jyoti, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm there, sir. Only camera is a little bit.
Camera, no problem. You can share screen. Would you like to share screen?
No, sir. Actually, I thought I'll just read sir's biodata. Have a print copy.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
So you can share screen, sir.
Well, I think it's okay. I mean, I'll just share the screen and just let the title thing maybe.
Yes.
Is my screen visible now, full screen?
Perfect, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome, my dear friends, and a warm welcome to Dr. Vivek for agreeing to deliver today's oration on accreditation and ranking. Can I request Dr. Jyoti to please introduce our guest speaker for today?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Good evening, everyone. At the outset, I express my hearty congratulations to Dr. Vivek Saoji for having bestowed with Dr. Rita Sood Memorial Oration and Lifetime Achievement Award. Hearty congratulations, sir.
Thank
On
you.
this occasion, I take pride in introducing him to this audience. Professor Dr. Vivek A. Saoji, Vice Chancellor, Bharati Vidyapeeth, Deemed University, Pune, and former Vice Chancellor, Kelly Academy of Higher Education and Research, deemed to be University, Belgaum. Sir completed his undergraduation and post-graduation MS General Surgery from GMC Nagpur and received his advanced training in surgical oncology at the Tata Memorial Hospital, Mumbai. Dr. Vivek Saoji joined Bharati Vidyapeeth in the year 1990 and rose to become its principal and dean in the year 2007. He served as the principal for a period of 10 years. Further on, he was appointed as the Vice Chancellor of Kelly Academy of Higher Education and Research, deemed to be University, Belgaum, Karnataka, in the year 2017. Dr. Vivek Saoji has more than 34 years of teaching and clinical experience and 22 years of administrative experience. Dr. Saoji was awarded the prestigious FAMER Fellowship in the year 2004 for pursuing his advanced training in medical education and leadership at International FAMER Institute, Philadelphia, USA. Subsequently, he was also awarded the International Fellowship in Medical Education, IFME, in year 2007 to pursue his master's in health profession education at the prestigious Department of Medical Education, University of Illinois, Chicago, USA. Dr. Saoji is the immediate past president of Academy of Health Professions Educators, AHPE, India. He was the governing council member of Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, New Delhi. He was also the member of governing council of Association of Indian Universities, New Delhi. He has been empaneled as the expert by NAC for assessment and accreditation and also by the National Board of Examination. He has a number of research publications in peer-reviewed journals, contributed book chapters, and is the reviewer for a number of scientific journals. Apart from being a renowned and skilled surgeon, Sir is known nationally and internationally for his work in health professions education. With this, I present Dr. Vivek Saoji to this forum. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Jyoti, for the kind introduction and all the nice words. The outset, I must also acknowledge and thank Dr. Tejinder Singh and Dr. Sanjay Bedi for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on this important topic of accreditation and ranking in health science institutions. I'm aware that the MU India is doing a great work and having a community of medical educators in the country and spreading the word about the recent developments as well as discussions on important topics. And I'm really lucky and fortunate that I have this opportunity to deliver the Dr. Rita Sood Memorial Oration. To begin with, I think I remember Dr. Rita Sood. I have had a long association with her since early days. I went for my FAMER Institute in Philadelphia in 2003-04. Dr. Rita joined the FAMER Institute in 2005. And since then, we have been meeting frequently, and particularly with the 3 FAMER regional institutes in India at Ludhiana, at Coimbatore, and with Mumbai. So initially we were going there as a faculty till almost 2015 every year, and 3 times in a year we used to be meeting, we used to be sharing good ideas. And Dr. Rita, as you all will agree, is a very knowledgeable person. She was very humble, she was very friendly, at the same time professional, and a wonderful human being. We lost her a little too early, but God has something different in his mind, and we all have to accept that. So we remember her and dedicate this lecture to her. So on that note, I think let us get going. I bring you greetings from Bharati Vidyapeeth, Pune. Bharati Vidyapeeth is one of the largest deemed to be universities in the country. It's a multi-faculty, multidisciplinary, multi-campus university having 12 faculties and almost about 25,000 students enrolled in the various programs, 1,800 plus faculty members. The focus, of course, is on health science, as we have 2 medical colleges under the umbrella, 3 dental colleges, 3 nursing colleges, a pharmacy college, Ayurveda, homeopathy, a research institute, and so many. So it's one of the leading deemed to be universities in the country. Coming to the today's topic about ranking and accreditation, particularly in health science institutions. So we must have our ideas clear as to what we mean by ranking and what do we understand by accreditation. Many a times these terms are used interchangeably. Many a times the parameters or the standards may be common, but the purpose of both these things is different. When we say accreditation, it is either an institutional accreditation or a program accreditation. I'll come to it a little later. But the purpose is that it evaluates either the institutes or programs on certain quality parameters for its effectiveness. It's, of course, a very comprehensive evaluation, and it includes right from the curriculum to faculty to teaching learning methods to student support services, infrastructure, best practices, and many more. So it is a comprehensive evaluation, and this evaluation is done for a number of purposes. Again, I'll elaborate on it a little later, but the main thing can be that many of these funding agencies or organizations recognize these institutes, and some of the funds, recognitions, etc., are given to the accredited institutes only. So that's why it is important and recognized by that. So that's one thing which we need to keep it in mind. Whereas the when we mean ranking, ranking also is determined by certain criteria or matrices, but it refers to process of comparing educational institutes and creating a hierarchical list of that. So that's something which we need to keep in mind. It may be comprehensive, it may be limited to a particular purpose. So the criteria or the matrices may depend on the purpose, but primarily it focuses on the creating a hierarchical list. So when we say accreditation, it's a comprehensive 5-year or a long-term process which is there, whereas ranking is an yearly affair. Accreditation gives grades, whereas that is in absolute numbers, either you're 3.5 or 2.8 or 3.68 or something like that, whereas ranking is relative to other institutions and may differ from year to year. So depending on the performance. So these are the 2 things we need to keep in mind as far as ranking and accreditation is concerned. So accreditation by and large is a comprehensive process. It may involve as an institutional accreditation or a program accreditation, whereas the ranking is an institutional ranking and it is an yearly exercise. We also need to know about what we understand by standards, because that is something which we keep talking, and many times, as I said, we use these terms interchangeably. So standard is that provides the requirements. These are the specific guidelines or specifications and that are used to ensure consistency, whether it is in the form of products, processes, services, or whatever that may be. So for that purpose, we need to have the standards as predefined, and based on these standards, then we can judge whether somebody is meeting those standards and where do we as an institution, as a program, they stand vis-a-vis the standards. This definition is, of course, from the ISO document, and that is something which the regulatory councils by and large follow. And why this fuss about ranking and accreditation? Why everyone, I think, particularly in private sector, is talking about always ranking, accreditation. You will see that all the institutes, I think they are in the process that, okay, somebody's got A, somebody's got A+, we got little less, we got little more. So why this is? So it's all about quality. So the ranking and accreditation at the end of the day determines the quality of your programs, the quality of your processes, whether the systems are in place or not. So it's all about quality. And what do we mean by quality? That is, it is something special or distinctive, demonstrating the highest academic standards or meeting a threshold standard. And this definition is given by Harvey and Green in one of their landmark papers, which is there. So that's, we need to be again aware of why we are doing all these accreditation, because it assures about quality in the processes. Going little bit into the historical aspects, the NAC started in 1994, that is institutional accreditation. The National Board of Accreditation, which is not concerned primarily with health science institutions, it accreditates mainly the technology institutions, but it is a program accreditation. When we're talking of program accreditation, we mean that it is a BA program or a BCom program or a BTech program, which is there. And in MBBS, hopefully the now NMC, which is planning accreditation, so they may go for accreditation, program accreditation, like a MBBS accreditation of MBBS program, or an MD or an MS program, or a DMMCH program, which is there. Then as recently as 2016, the NIRF came into picture, where we have now institutional rankings, yearly rankings. In another couple of weeks, hopefully this year's NIRF ranking will be declared, and we'll know that which are the top institutions, health science institutions, overall universities in the country. Then there is this Quality Council of India, which accreditates the hospitals, laboratories, and other organizations, that is NABH, NABL. Then we have these ISO standards. So any organization can go for ISO accreditation. And there are, of course, good number of the media houses or NGOs, magazines, which are their popular rankings that we call. Now we also have international accreditations like the QS, and these are primarily international ones are ranking, that is QS, Times Higher Education, or the Shanghai ranking. So now we have a good number of agencies which look into these, and they are all independent, they are all autonomous, they are not government agencies, nor are they run by any particular institution or an organization. They have their own guidelines, they have their own SOPs, which are evolved over a period of time. Then why we are doing all these things, which is there, which we are looking at from the quality perspective. So number one is benchmarking and goal setting. So when we say that, why do we want to that we want to be A grade, or we want to be an A+ grade? Because by that we will know that there are certain standards, certain processes, certain systems are in place. And if we are not having, then if we go, that means that it is our goal. We want to achieve this. We want to get into a A++ grade. We can be aspirational for that. So that is number one, that why we should go for that. Then it gives a credibility to the organization, to the institution, to the department, or to the program which that we are looking at. Similarly, it brings in a little competitive environment. Normally in academic institutions, the complacency may set in, that we are doing the routine work, we have teaching or some clinical responsibilities and some of the other matters, administrative matters that we have to handle. But this gives us a focus. This is like, as I said, setting the goals. And this gives visibility to institutions. it is accredited institutions will be said that, okay, these are good institutions, students, parents, faculty, peers. So all of them look at accredited institutes. And now some of it is voluntary, some maybe eventually become mandatory, provided if you want to get some grants, if you want to have certain recognitions, then it becomes mandatory. And even the government of India categorization higher education institutes at category 1 institute, category 2, and depending on that, there can be an autonomy, there can be some incentives, some funding provisions. So that helps for the accredited institutes, and that is the reason why we should go for ranking and accreditation processes. And finally, I think at the end of the day, for the stakeholders, it is important to have ability to make decisions, and ranking and accreditation help us to take informed decisions. It also gives in an element of learning. When we are undergoing the process, we learn a lot of things. We learn a lot of good practices which are there. And that is from we change the culture from one of a blame or excuses to one of a learning. So there are good number of reasons why organizations and institutions should go for accreditation and or ranking. Well, I think invariably, more often than not, this is the situation when it comes to any critical decisions which are there, or which regulations to follow and what to do. So if there is a dilemma, rather than having an informed choice or informed decisions, we may revert to let's flip a coin and let's see what does it say. So that should not be the case, and therefore it's important to recognize how accreditation and rankings will be helpful. Just a brief thing about who's responsible for that. So we all know regulatory councils, MCI, NMC now, Dental Council or Pharmacy Council, and so on and so forth. So we have regulatory councils. At institutional levels, we can do something. And then there are external agencies that we will be looking at, particularly NAC or the NIRF or some of these things which we will be looking at. So these regulatory councils, the focus of regulatory councils is primarily on minimum standards. And the guidelines in the regulatory councils are mandatory in nature. These minimum standards we have to fulfill. That is number of faculty members, number of classrooms, space, the program, the academic calendar, the assessment system. So these are mandatory guidelines which are there that have to be followed, and they are prerequisite also for starting a program, continuation of a program, or starting a new program. And then it is a periodic review. So the regulatory guidelines, whether they are from any council, they are mandatory in nature. So that is something which we have to keep it in mind, and they are periodic. Of course, these days we have surprise assessments, inspections which are there, and they check on whether the minimum standards are adhered to or not. And that's if they are adhered, then we get a continuation of recognition or increase of intake, and whatever that purpose may be for that visits. Then at an institutional level, though it is not mandatory, good institutions, if they want to be assured about quality, then they must periodically undertake these things like academic and administrative audits or clinical audits, evaluating teachers' performance, the learner outcome measures, how are the learners doing, whether they are going into the employment, whether they are having placements, whether they are into the higher education. Then the research output, which again is getting a lot of traction. Everything is focused on research as to how much is the research output, how much is the funds which are generated, how many projects are resulting into high impact publications. And then if there are any administrative roles that the faculty is undertaking, particularly if they are members of any committees, boards, or having any additional administrative responsibilities. So these will determine the standards or the quality assurance in the institution, and this should be done internally at institutional level. So it is nice to have these measures, quality initiatives, quality measures at the institutional level. And then the external agencies, as we are talking, these are the agencies that ensure that the systems and process are in place, documentation is there, then on predefined criteria. As of now, it is voluntary, and we can, it's not mandatory either for government or the private institutions. So NAC, NIRF, NBA, and just now that we have looked at these agencies, ranking and accrediting agencies which are there, but it is desirable to have. So we will be dwelling into little bit of details about the NAC and NIRF. And when I'm talking about the accreditation and ranking, now here for institutional ranking, that is the NAC doesn't do program accreditation. NAC does only institutional accreditation. And when we mean program, as I said, it is the MBBS program or a BDS program or a B.Pharm program. So that NBA, National Board of Accreditation, that does the program accreditation, and that doesn't do the institutional accreditation. And this accreditation is done for a period of 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, depending on the criteria and depending on the scores which the institution or the program gets. Similarly, like ranking, this is the NIRF, which is an yearly exercise. I'm sure most of the institutions must be busy this time of the year preparing for NIRF, because they ask for data from month of January to March, and then April, May, they will declare the rankings. Of course, because of the COVID, some of these things got delayed. Then this is ATAL ranking for institutional innovation. That is the new thing, that is now the focus of the government is on innovation, focus is on entrepreneurship, focus is on the interdisciplinary education. So they have initiated this ATAL ranking of institutions for innovation. So that is again, which is new in the horizon, and we must look at those criteria as well. So these are the agencies which are accrediting, and as I said, accreditation is a comprehensive process, ranking is a quantitative relative to other institutions. So now focusing on to these two areas, next 15 or 20 minutes, I'll be focusing on the NAC and the NIRF part, which is there. So NAC, as we've seen, it is an autonomous body of Government of India. Established in 1994. It does the institutional accreditation. There have been guidelines which have been revised periodically. The first guidelines came in 1998, then 2003, 2008, and latest in 2017, that is the revised accreditation guidelines which are there. And these 2017 guidelines, they have made a paradigm shift as far as the assessment and accreditation by NAC is concerned. Initially, all 100% of the score was determined by the peer team visit. The peer team used to evaluate the institution, and then they used to give the grade or a score, and that was all. And there were some fallacies in that. Some institutes got very good scores, some institutes suffered. And so the NAC from 2018 onwards decided that they'll go in a mixed mode, and now that it is 70% of it is all digital data driven, that is 70% of the scores, and 30% is the peer team visit. So 70% is what the data has to be submitted in the form of SAR, that is called as quantitative. There are matrices, we'll again come to that. So quantitative matrices, and the quantitative matrices, the DVV, that is data validation and verification process, which is that determines on the predetermined benchmarks which are there, that if the institution has as many publication and what is the benchmark, and based on the benchmark they will be getting that particular score, or if there are as many value added courses or as many students getting into higher education, and so on and so forth. And only 30% of the weightage of the outcome scores is for the peer team. That's a paradigm shift which is there. And earlier there used to be only university or some institution manual. Now, depending on the diversity, there are different manuals for colleges, universities, health science institutes, teacher education institutes, physical education. So each of these faculties have a separate manuals which are there. The benchmarks still recently were confidential. Institutions were not knowing as to if they want to get a maximum score, what is the benchmark? And therefore, there was some sort of a halo around as to how much we should do, how many papers will get us 4 on 4, or how many students registering for PhD will get us that, or how much grant will get us 4 on 4. So that was not made public. But recently, this January, NAC has made the benchmarks open. And that is, of course, now for the general universities, health science universities, they're not yet declared the benchmarks, but for general universities, so you know that if you want to get 4 on 4 on a particular matrix, then what is the target that you have to reach? So these have been declared now to bring in an element of transparency in the process. So that's about the benchmarks, and then that manuals which are there that help us in collecting the data accordingly. So in the NAC process, there are these 7 criterias. There's a booklet, health science manual for the universities, health science manuals for the constituent colleges, but primarily there are 7 criterias, and this, as I said, these 7 criterias, they are comprehensive. They include from curricular aspects to teaching, learning, and assessment or evaluation, research innovation, infrastructure, student support, and governance, institutional values, and best practices. Here again, the importance for the universities, the research criteria has maximum weightage, 250 weightage. So your publications, your research projects, the research ecosystem, how this is leading to innovation, entrepreneurship, startups, then what type of consultancies. Even in health science, we are looking at now interdisciplinary projects. We're looking at the biotechnology or the incubation centers, which till some time back were Greek and Latin in health science. But now in health science institutions also, we have to understand the importance of incubations. We have to understand the importance of startups and entrepreneurship development, and how these we can collaborate with technology, or how our own we can start the innovative programs that we're there. So there are 7 criterias. There are 35 key indicators. In each criteria, there will be 4, 6, 8. I'm not going into all the details, otherwise it becomes a half-a-day workshop or a long, lengthy session. All this information is given in the health science manual, but it is important to remember that there are these 35 key indicators. There are total 125 matrices. So overall, when we are submitting the SSR, we have to address these 125 questions, out of which 81 are quantitative. That is, the 81 questions, the evaluation will be done by DVV or computer generated scores, and 44 are qualitative matrices. Of course, for each of these metrics, when you are submitting in the SSR may be just about 140 or 150 pages, but the supporting documents, you have to upload tons of supporting document for that. So documentation remains a big challenge. Again, we'll come to that. What are the advantages and how to go about the process? So these 81 matrices, though they may be quantitative, but they have to be substantiated, supported by the various documentary evidences, various minutes of the meeting, the proofs of all what good practices are being followed. And then even for qualitative matrices, whatever we are saying, that has to be substantiated by the documentary evidence which has to be uploaded. So it is all data driven, computer generated process. We don't have to send any manual by post, or we don't have to send any documents substantiating material to NAC office or anything. Earlier, it used to be in trunks. I remember in 2017 when we had, or earlier than that, 2012, and some institutions said that they had to hire a lorry for submitting the documents to NAC. So now that is all history. It's all digital, and but these digital things have to be uploaded. The details are given in the health science manual, what things are to be applied. That this is for the universities, the health science universities. They have 7 criteria. When we are talking of health science institutions, there may be a medical college, there may be a isolated a dental college or a pharmacy institute or an Ayurveda college. So there is again a separate manual for institution, and there is a different marking. Health science institutions, colleges may not be involved in curriculum development aspect. They may have a very limited role in that. So the weightage which for the universities is 150 is reduced to 80. Whereas in the institutions, the focus is on teaching learning. Here, the weightage is 280, which is 200 for the universities. In the universities, the focus, as I said, is on research, where there are 250 marks. For the institutions, it is 120 marks. So these 7 criteria are same, the weightage differs, but there is an 8 discipline specific criteria when we are going for the institutional accreditation, and whether it is nursing or pharmacy or Ayurveda or Siddha or Unani, there would be an 8 criteria which will have maybe 8, 10, 12 matrices or questions, and that will have 100 weightage. So 7 criteria will have 900 weightage, and this is the 8 criteria will have 100 weightage. So finally, it is the weightage of 1000. So that's the small difference between the health science universities and health science institutions. Then, of course, again, we have said that the accreditation, that is an indicator of quality. It is useful for parents, students, employers, research institutes, faculty, and even for the, financial institutions. They'll look at the quality. If the quality institutions are there, then even we'll be able to attract good faculty, we'll be able to attract good students, we'll be able to attract resources in the form of funds, grants, we'll have some autonomy. So there are a number of benefits of having accreditation, and not just accreditation, but with good grades. Particularly the NAC manual or UGC or these regulatory agencies, they say that if you have A+ or A++ grade, that is CGPA of 3.25 in case of A+, or CGPA of 3.50 or above for A++, then you have a significant autonomy as far as the course, curriculum, the other matters are concerned. So the NAC process is it should be looked as a continuous process. It should not be looked at as a one-time exercise. It is it has to be internalized. It has to be looked at as a quality initiative, which is a continuous and not just for that particular period for getting a grade and then going about it. So therefore, there is a need to have a strong IQAC, who is eligible for going for a NAC. So institutions which have at least 2 batches of students who have graduated, they can go for NAC, or who are more than 5 years old, they can go for NAC accreditation. Institution which has started this year or last year may not be eligible for accreditation, because they have to have a functional IQAC for preceding 5 years. IQAC is internal quality assurance cell, and the internal quality assurance cell has to ensure quality initiatives, and it can be as a repository for documentation. And it is important that when we're talking of NAC as a comprehensive process, that we track students, how they are progressing, how they are getting into higher education or into placements. And it is important that NAC, we keep saying that NAC is an inclusive process. So it's not an exclusive few people doing only the work. So everyone should be aware about the criteria. So unless, of course, each and every person in the institution, department is aware, then only that quality will percolate at the lowest level. And then we should be well prepared for that. As I've said, that we need to have a academic and administrative audit, some internal processes which are there to check how we are going on these parameters. And most importantly, we need to have a robust data management system or a centralized data cell, because that's where, because now when you see the next slide about the challenges, so we need to have that good data management system, an ERP or a centralized data cell, because many institutions, including ours, we get these challenges that how do we go about it? The faculty will complain that every 15 days we get an email or we get a notice that, okay, this data is required, and by and large, the faculty members, they're busy in preparing for this document, submitting that report. And that's the continuous going back and forth that the core team would want some documents. The faculty members or the heads of the institutions may say that we are busy providing the document. So the NAC process involves extensive documentation, and it is very important that this we have this practice of keeping proper documents. And then technology can be a great help in maintaining documentation, maintaining records, avoid duplications. Then all these, invariably, we face challenges regarding simple things. How many students are there? How many male, female students are there? How many students are there from which states, diversity, and so on and so forth. And if the data is not proper, as I said, when we were undergoing the NAC assessment, when I was at Kelly, we had to match the figures. We had to work for 2 nights tallying the figures, whether how many students are there from which state and what. So it is very important that we have a proper record, and these challenges are not uncommon. These are invariably, a lot of institutions face these. As I said, a lesser degree of participation from administrative or academic stakeholders. Everyone needs to be involved. Everyone needs to be at least aware. And if they are aware, then in some or the other way, they will contribute. I have already emphasized about technology. Then having clarity of, interpretation of the matrices. If we interpret a particular matrice in a particular way and not submit the information relating to that, it may be a challenge. So that's, we need to look at it. And as again, I've said that it should not be looked as a standalone exercise, but an overall quality initiative, quality enhancement initiative at the institutional level. And for this, we need to be having this 3-tier system. If we have a 3-tier system, a core group of a few faculty members, heads of the institutions, or the policy makers. So a core group which is there, then a functional and vibrant IQAC. That's the key. If we have a IQAC can be a repository, IQAC can be a monitoring, IQAC can be in the mentoring role. So IQAC can serve a good number of purposes. So a core group, an IQAC, and then the criteria-wise task forces. So if we have these things in place, then the entire process can be worked out in a fairly organized way. And for this, then for going through this NAC process exercise, some of the tips which I can say from my experience is that the university or the institution should have a clearly articulated vision and a mission. The goals and objectives needs to be aligned to it. We should have the plans, policies in accordance with that, and based on that, a self-study report needs to be prepared. A self-study report can be a good reflection of the good practices that we're doing. Many times we don't know what all good things which we are doing. And when we are to collect these information, then we also get ourselves that, yes, we're doing this, we were not aware. So we can get a reinforcement about the good practices that are being followed. IQAC, that's very vital in the entire NAC process. And then for this plans, policies, we need to have resources, adequate resources should be allocated and outcomes should be monitored. These systems, processes needs to be in place. All these things needs to be internalized so that everyone is aware about the process. We should periodically review our SWOT. That is, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges. So we can build on the strengths, we can overcome the weaknesses, catch on the opportunities, and see that how we can address the challenges. So that's something which is very important. And if we just know that, okay, what the institution stands for, what are the systems and processes, do a periodic SWOT analysis, and based on that, plan for the future. So what is it that how we are looking at the institution, maybe 3 years, 5 years down the line. So we should have that plan. And if we have that clarity, then we can very confidently go for the NAC assessment and we can get a good score. So though it is a comprehensive, elaborative process, but it is a rewarding experience. If everyone is involved, and then we come to know a lot of good things, we evolve as a team, and then we also know our weaknesses and we can chart our course accordingly. We get periodic feedbacks. We can work on the feedback. So as I said, that this, if we follow this without looking it as a burden, then it is certainly a rewarding experience. Maybe next 5 or 7 minutes, I'll talk about the NIRF, and I think that's about that. We'll conclude. So NIRF, again, that's a new thing on the block. This is the institutional ranking framework. As said, this is from 2016. Initially, there were only universities and few faculties which were included, but as last few years, medical, dental, pharmacy, and all these faculties, all these disciplines now are can go independently for the NIRF ranking. 3 or 4 important points here that we need to remember is that this is entirely data driven. We have to submit the data on certain parameters, which I'll show in the next few slides. And then they will not be ranking us based only on the data, but they can take the data, our institutional data from our website, from the regulatory councils, from the data which is submitted for this AISHE, that is All India Higher Education Survey. And the ranking is derived on the 3-year score. So if you've done something very well this year, but your last 2 years data is not satisfactory, then you may still end up getting a little lower rank. So it depends on the 3 years of the data which is in the public domain, as well as the data which is submitted by the institution a previous year and a year before that. And this is evaluation is done by third parties. This is a dynamic yearly process that majority of the higher education institutions are going. In health science institutions, last year, almost about 150 institutions participated. Of course, we have 600 plus medical colleges or as many dental colleges, but dental colleges were about 100 that participated, and 50 ranks in medical colleges were given. As far as universities are concerned, more than 300 universities participated, and 100 ranks are given for the universities. So that's the ranking which is done, and more colleges are now participating in the NIRF ranking. And this, like NAC, we have 7 criteria. Here we have 5 criteria. That is one on teaching learning, one on research and professional practice, graduate outcomes, then on the outreach, inclusivity, and perception. So teaching learning, again, there are sub criteria, the student strength, the faculty students ratio, then PhD. There is a lot of emphasis on PhD in NIRF, then how you're utilizing your budget. In research, not just publications, but the quality of publications, patents, and other things, and how these projects have resulted into good practices or startups. Then graduate outcomes, how are the results, where are the graduates placed, and how they are progressing in their career. So they asked, it's again a comprehensive process, but it's all data driven. Then outreach, inclusivity, whether it is women percentage, then regional diversity, economically and socially challenged, physically challenged students, and then perception from the employees, researchers, academicians. So these are the 5 parameters on which NIRF assesses the institutions. And the weightage here again, though it is 100, but calculation is that teaching learning and resources utilization has 30% of the weightage, research professional practice has 30%, graduate outcomes 20%, and then the other 2 parameters have 10% each. So here emphasis again is on these 2 parameters. The key points which are here important is that we really need to see that how we are able to enhance the students and what new things which we are doing. Then the doctoral students, that is the PhD programs, faculty student ratio of 1:8 for medical and dental, and 1:15 for others. So if we have that, then we end up with getting a good score. But if we have less than that, then that score may get affected. So faculties with PhD. So these are all looked at in minute detail. Again, if they're not satisfied, if we just give data and if there is a contradiction in the data, they'll ask for clarification. And if wrong information is provided consistently, then the institutions are barred from that or they're blacklisted. So here it's not just about publication, but publications in the high impact journal, whether it is in Science Citation Index and which quartile, then whether the patent. So all these things, they are really important. Again, these guidelines, they're all there in the public domain. NIRF, if you type all the documents, how they calculate the scores, how much score is for what parameters, so all that is calculated regarding the graduate outcomes, how many students are progressing, graduating every year, what happens to them after graduation, employment, packages, so on and so forth. So all these information needs to be submitted, and based on that, the institutions are ranked. And finally, of course, the perception, how others perceive, how academicians, how employers, how the researchers, they perceive your institution. So based on this, the NIRF gives the ranking, and that's the thing now we need to be more aware about and prepare based on what are the requirements. Again, they are changing. 4 years back, there were some different parameters. Now they're making it more and more inclusive for institution specific or faculty specific purposes. So finally, I think to conclude, whether it is the NAC, whether it is NIRF, whether it is any other accreditation or ranking, 4 or 5, I mean, they look at these 6 or 7 areas. That is, how much is the infrastructure available, and it's not just about physical space, but there are computers, but Wi-Fi, but automation. Then what are the learning resources which are available, that from the library to museum to now simulation lab to clinical workload, then faculty, and whether the faculty is having awards, recognitions, additional training. So all these matters, they are helpful not just for NAC and NIRF, but even when we are going for international ranking. Now the curricula, again, I have not touched into that because now with the NEP, there is this focus on the outcome-based education in health science also. Now we are having these competency-based curricula, which is there. So that is focusing on the outcomes rather than the discipline specific, that ability of the graduates to perform, ability to do. So that's is being looked at by the accrediting agencies. And then your teaching learning methods, assessment, research output, student support systems, and capacity building initiative. So these are the 7 or 8 or what parameters. They will be common whether it is you're going for ranking, accreditation. So what we can do is we can have some checklist which are there, and how we are progressing on this, we can plot them. So if we have these data regularly collected, then it is NAC, whether it is NIRF or whether it is any international ranking, we will be able to do well. So if you want to get into make this exercise successful, then we need to be plan, prepare, and have it charted accordingly. Then reviewing the progress, periodic review, course corrections, and I cannot emphasize more on digitalization, decentralization, dissemination. These 3 probably would be the buzzwords here on this slide. And then having a regular feedback system, and proper record keeping. So if we are little particular, we need to be disciplined, we need to be conscious, but if we are able to do that, then we are able to get good grades, we can achieve success. I have had a good experience of, I mean, when earlier I was in Bharati Vidyapeeth, we have had a couple of assessments. It was always a great learning experience. In KLE also, when I was there, we had we underwent this process and we could learn a lot. Everyone learned a lot. I also go as an assessor to the various institutions, and that's also we learn. And when as a NAC assessor, it's not called as an assessment or an inspector, it is a peer team. So it's again a rewarding experience. So overall, in my personal capacity, from my experience, I can say that though it is comprehensive, though it is elaborate, though at times we may not get the desired result, but at the same time, it is really important, and it can be helpful, and the students, the parents, and everyone would be benefited if the institutions go for ranking and accreditation. So with that, I conclude, and with this quote that 2 roads diverge in the wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made the difference. So now, of course, many of the institutions are going for ranking and accreditation, but the ones who are still fence sitting, the ones who are still thinking about it, I would encourage them to shed their inhibitions and venture into this area, and I'm sure that will make all the difference. So thank you very much. And once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity for delivering this oration. I know this is a big topic. We cannot cover all the aspects in great details, but I'm sure that we got a good insight onto the various aspects, what goes into the process of accreditation and ranking, and particularly as far as NAC and NIRF is concerned. So with that, I will stop here and stop sharing my screen. Thank you very much. And it's over to you, Sanjay and Tejinder. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was a very enlightening talk, and we are very grateful to you. And we are proud to confer upon you the Dr. Rita Sood Memorial Oration, and also for this delivering this lecture, and also the Lifetime Achievement Award to you for the long career and your contribution to the medical sciences, especially medical education over the years. I have been in touch with you since 2007 and seen you come from to very high levels and seen your contributions along the way. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
I'm delighted. Thank you for honoring me with this very prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award, as well as the opportunity to give my oration. As I said, it was a little long topic, but I'm sure that there is some carry home message.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vivek, for delivering the oration.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone for being with us in conferring this honor on Dr. Vivek Saoji. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you all.
आता हे काय करायचं